This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Saints Pod. My name is Greg, and as always, today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host Zach. And mate, I don't know, how do we start talking about that? That was something, right?
Do we start with our little bit of lost media where my wife didn't realise we were recording and said, well, often to win games you need to score goals. And that was off the back of us talking about how Tonda saying things like, wow, you know, if you look at the stats, we basically should have won the game, which I've also heard from Will Still, Russell Martin, Ivan Juric,
Nathan Jones.
Nathan Jones, basically any manager.
He was statistically the best manager in Europe, so like
yeah, but he doesn't have James Bree though, does he? Anyway.
I don't know, mate. Look, let's try and start at the start because
we have to.
Look, I mean, I feel like my text to you when we saw the team sheet summed it up pretty nicely because I mean that's the same team that they put out against Middlesbrough with just a slightly different goalkeeper.
Well, as we've now learned, maybe it's not the problem. Like I've already seen people call him a Sunday League keeper, people saying he's rubbish, and I'm like, so I feel like at this point it actually doesn't matter who we put between the goal posts, because if you cannot have two defenders who are marking a player stop a header from going into a goal, I don't know what else to say. It doesn't matter how tall you are, or having Ryan Manning passing the ball back, misplacing that pass, being annoyed at Quasi and the goalkeeper for not collecting it, despite the fact that he gave it directly to an opposition player, and then not taking off Ryan Manning, but taking off Quasi. Like, it's insane. I can't write it.
It's baffling.
I don't know. Is he one of the players that faced up to the crowd or not? I'm assuming not.
I don't know, mate. Let me go back and check my list. I haven't got that far in my notes yet.
You said at the start, and I completely derailed it. But it's
that was it, right? It's the same. It's the same lineup. It's what we were expecting, and they came out and it looked like they lined up in a back four, which looked fresh and exciting. I think I said to you, Taylor Harwood-Bellis is doing his best here to not be the problem. And it turns out like it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter if the goalkeeper is a problem or Taylor Harwood-Bellis is a problem, because we clearly have so many problems in our squad that that's the outcome, regardless of, you know. And the worst part is, as soon as I saw the team sheet, it's exactly what I saw coming. Like,
you just can't write it. I don't quite understand what is so fundamentally broken about our team. I don't understand. Like, yeah, okay, we managed this little 6 or 7 game spell, which was really nice, but like there is something fundamentally in the water, in the DNA. I don't. You know, what's our opinion on Sports Republic? We've shared it multiple times. I think harassing the CEO who takes care of the business side is a pretty dumb decision. I understand why. It's because people feel like they need to lash out at somebody, but like ultimately, when you are trusting people who just keep throwing stuff under the bus, like Alfie House summed it up pretty well, right? Where, I don't know if you saw his series of tweets, Greg, where basically it was just like, yeah, they just keep like trusting the wrong people, and they keep like trying to tinker with things, and like, you know, us buying a bunch of players from the second tier of the Bundesliga just isn't working. Alternatively, buying, you know, getting in managers that can. And you're right. Like, you're right in your point multiple times. So they made it impossible not to hire Eckert because of the run he had. But like, and I think we had a back and forth with Football Martin. And I genuinely said, like, who would want to come here? And he's like, plenty of managers. And I can't name any. Like, I can't think of any managers right now that would want to come here. It's a poison planet.
That's the problem the position we've put ourselves in, right? Like, not only managers, but also we're in the middle of a transfer window that, you know, could have been utilised to shore up our issues and our gaps. But like you say, who's going to want to come?
Well, the biggest problem you've got as well is that, like, unless they get rid of this like whole, and it's not just endemic to our club, right? You're looking at Glasgow with Palace, the fact that they've come out and said we're keeping you to the rest of the season after he literally said the word abandoned is insane.
Yeah.
You've had, Maresca, Amarin, all these teams, like head coaches and managers that are basically unable to do anything because they are strangled by this sporting director approach. And like what we've discovered with Tonda now getting the job full time in the sort of negative tactics and the inability for him to make any decisions about transfers, and is that there's such a disconnect. And we all had a lot of work, a lot of hope for Spurs, but it just seems to be that he's scouting the second and first tier of the Bundesliga, and that's kind of it. And he was, the whole squad planning is an art thing, and we haven't had terrible players, but also they're not really great. And the wild thing is seeing some of the opposition opinions of us, right? And whole being like, I don't understand because they've invested loads. Like, I'm surprised their fans feel this way, and it's so hard to explain in a simple way why. Yeah, they've invested loads, and yeah, they're quite good at the business side of things. But you've seen what our football's like. Have you seen where we're at?
That's where a lot of the frustration stems from, right? Because they've had the money to do what other teams are doing better. Like, they've invested the money, and there's just nothing to show for it. We're just in such an awful position.
Running a football club. They're very good at, expanding areas of a business. And
unfortunately, they've put themselves in a position where they're running, 5 now? So...
And they're not going to... And the thing is people are like, oh, we need to stop encouraging sell. And then there's people criticising people for, buying FA Cup merch. And, oh, I'm not going to have another drink in the Dale. And we're going to do this big protest that we're never actually going to do. And it's because, ultimately, they're not going to sell unless they want to sell. And the problem that you've got is that until it becomes not profitable, which I think is going to get to a point where if we start dropping down leagues, it's going to become an issue for them, which is ridiculous. And, it could be a lot worse. I think that some of the comments around, we'd be better if we were financially ruined are just insane.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem, is it's just having that level of incompetency where you can't imagine letting a business run like this, right? If one whole section of the business, this reminds me of one of those undercover boss things, right? Where one guy's yeah, our business makes loads of money, and then he does an undercover boss into the call center. It's what do you mean that occasionally the phone system goes down for 30, 40 minutes a day? And they're yeah, it just happens. We just have to call IT and wait. And he seems dumbfounded, and I feel surely that's got to be it. Surely you're looking at your investment and not thinking, okay, it's going to become good. It's going to become good because this one guy interviewed well. And I feel if you can't, after 9, 10 different appointments, hire somebody that's good enough to fix stuff, where do we go?
It's baffling me. And here's the thing, right? And
what did we do?
You're right. The takes that I've seen of, it was more forgivable under Lowe because we had no money and we were financial ruin. I'm well, we could have been in that position if we still had owners.
You could have someone that's bad at business and also terrible at running a football club.
But you know what I'm like, and I like to try and take an objective line and try and look at a bigger picture and sort of try and find the positives. But the worrying reality that I've got to is that next season, if we don't get promoted, our parachute payments stop. We currently have either the biggest or the second biggest wage bill in the league. And at that point, it becomes financially unsustainable. So are we... I mean, look, even I, as the deepest set optimist that, that I'd like to think that I am on this show, I don't see a way we get promoted this season. And if we do get promoted this season, it's going to be a horrible next season. So what, we're just reliant on the summer transfer window to suddenly get a good football team? Because, what we played yesterday was supposedly our best 11.
It's so many factors that are problematic. It's we talk about back 4 and back 5 and formation. We talk about the ability to have leaders on the pitch. We talk about dressing room. Tonda giving all of the greatest hits. I told them how it was. What matters is a reaction Wednesday. We were told that what mattered was a reaction today. We were told that all that matters off the Christmas period was winning at Middlesbrough. it doesn't matter. And again, like, it doesn't matter what face you put in there, because as long as you've got a director of football that is dictating everything, the people that go into that position are basically just there to like shout extra loud at the players. You've got players that don't like to play in a certain way, or just don't at this point know how to defend in the systems they're built in. There is like so many different blocks, and I don't know what you can do to fix it. I genuinely don't.
Well, but what I will say is that my observation from this game is very similar to from the Doncaster game, right? If I look at those two goals, and I don't care if you're playing a back three, a back four, a back five, or a back nine, if Ryan Manning plays the perfect through ball to their striker, that's probably a goal. And if you can't jump up and head a corner away, that's not down to however many defenders you're supposed to have in the formation. Like, that's just that however many defenders or attackers you've got on the pitch haven't defended that corner.
Yeah, it was marked by two players and it got past the keeper. And again, like we've criticised McCarthy and you criticised Bazunu, but it genuinely feels like at the moment you could have faceless personnel, 0 to 11, and like it doesn't matter. You could have Mr. Manager as the manager; it doesn't matter. You could have Sam Allardyce. You can have I think that there are things that need to change at a level that wants. It's just nuts that we could be like a Premier League outfit and be where we are now. And it's so nuts to me that a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how we were absolutely flying, and it was a wonderful little sticky plaster. And honestly, the only good point of like the last year and a half, right? You had that section, and then it's so weird because you were like, oh, all the pieces of the puzzle are finally clicking that we saw under the whole of Will Still's regime, and then they've just stopped again.
It's baffling.
Is it just because they're not that good? Are the players they bought bad? Is it because they're not being able to play their natural positions? Like, there's so many.
The problem is, right, it's not as deep as that, right? We've talked lots about like psychology and mentalities and positions, but the fact of the matter is that Tonda came in and he played a higher paced, aggressive style of football. And that worked for a couple of weeks, right? And that got him, enough wins to get over the line, and 6 wins in 7 games or whatever. Then he's like, right, but we're shipping goals for fun, and we can only do this for at best 45 minutes, and we can't do it across 3 games in a week. So this isn't going to work out in the long run. I need to shore up defensively. And then, well, how do we shore up defensively? Well, we slow the game down. Well, but now we've slowed the game down. We can't score goals. And it's like this eternal struggle. It's like, well, if we can't defend at high pace, we need to bring in defenders that can defend at high pace. And honestly, to me, that is the problem in our team, right?
Yeah.
And it's down to the goalkeeper as well. And Peretz, I don't want to judge him after 2 games. And I think that it was a bold decision to bring him in and send Baz out immediately. I don't see why we didn't bring Peretz in and have Baz as a number 2 for a while.
Well, we've shipped 4 goals in 2 games, right?
It's crazy. But when we play that fast attacking football that we want to see, our attackers score goals. We have attackers that want to do it. If you give Adam Armstrong 4 chances in a game, you would bet your last pound that he would score one of those 4, right? If you put Tom Fellows in a situation where he can run at a player 1-on-1, 9 times out of 10 he is going to beat that player. And if you then spend the entirety of your game watching Nathan Wood bring the ball forward out of defence for 10 minutes, only to not really have a lot of movement in front of him in the middle of the park, or just have all of the players completely man-marked because the system has been worked out. Because now they go, well, we don't need to press Southampton because that's what they want, because they want to move through the lines and come at us with pace. What we need is to just sit off, and we'll let Nathan Wood have the ball and we'll just block everybody else, and then he won't make a pass. And if we let him pass it around the back long enough, one of them will play us through. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And then there's no counter to that. There's no plan B. And then although this game we did bring on a plan B, right? And we brought on Ross Stewart, which was fine, and he got his goal. He came on and did what he was supposed to do. And then as soon as he got his goal, it's sort of like there's another layer of the game, because then Hull looked at that and went, oh, well, this is a big man in the box who can receive a cross. Well, let's just stick 2 defenders on him then. We just had no other plan around that. At that point, you're like, okay, great. They're marking Ross Stewart out of the game. That's our opportunity to get down the wings and get down the lines and find those gaps. It's like, oh, but actually, we took our player who was good at doing that and making crosses off the pitch at the same time we brought Ross Stewart on. And, that's... Not only can I see that as madness, you could hear the entire stadium's reaction to that insanity. Probably our best player on the day, one of only, I think, 3 players who who pulled them up by their boots and tried to move the game forward and move at pace and take the ball and move with it, right? Because there was Leo, who once again just got kicked out of the game. Fellows and Howard Bellis. They're the only 3 for me that looked like they cared about moving the ball forward at any kind of pace. And I would say, of all of it, Howard Bellis had the best shot, and that's the upsetting part.
That's just... It's the definition of insanity. It's just doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. Hoping it will change. The same cycles, the same... Oh, well, now all of our defenders are the only ones that get a shot in. They're the only ones that are going to get close. Attackers can't do nothing. The manager doesn't know what to do. None of the managers ever have a plan B. None of them ever want to change formation because the players refuse to play in a formation that apparently doesn't fit the way that they want to play.
This is the problem, right? Because, and look, if you spend all week preparing for plan A and then you don't manage to pull plan A off because either the opposition see it coming or the players just aren't up to it, I mean, what can you do? How is it that every other team in this league can seemingly adjust in the middle of a game to see where the danger is and we can't? Like I say, Ross Stewart, after he scored, completely marked out of the game. Every single ball that managed to make its way into the box to him, he had 2 6'3" defenders stood next to him. There was absolutely nothing he could do. And what do? Well, we still play Jay Robinson trying to run down the wing, which is not that's not his strength, right?
It's right that we brought Archer super late. that was going to help.
I have absolutely nothing against Jay Robinson at all. And I feel bad for him because of the way that his substitution, the reaction it garnered. But I speak for myself, and I think I speak for most Saints fans. Nobody is booing the idea of bringing Jay Robinson on. But it's the idea of bringing on someone who's supposed to be receiving the crosses and taking off the only player that can put a cross in on the pitch. Because some of the crosses were abysmal. like shocking. Like, I see better corners and crosses in my lad's under-8s game than I saw at St Mary's yesterday. Right? Like, he scored from a corner this week, and I can assure you he did not learn that from having a season ticket at St Mary's. Like,
oh man, I just don't know. I just don't know how I feel anymore about it. Like, the fact that we got a South Coast derby in under a week is just
that's the really tragic part, mate.
Worst time. Well, like, this is how it goes, right? We either win it and it buys Tottenham some time. We lose it. They decide to get rid of him again. We have the 3rd manager in a year as the cycle continues. We replace him with some generic person that Spurs picked out that's on Spurs' tick list. He doesn't then have enough time to bring in anybody in January. We reset and we go again next year. And then
it's another season wasted.
Wasted. Another bunch of players that have had contracts renewed that shouldn't. A bunch of players that leave with no transfer fee. A bunch of players that are still here that we don't want to be here. We've now got Romeu, who was too injured to play in the under-21s. It's bizarre. Such a strange side of that one. Again, sentimentality, whatever. It's just Yeah,
And
I'm just so.
here's the thing, right? Like people could go on about Romeo and what he was going to bring on the pitch, but realistically speaking, I mean, my expectation was not that he was going to be like a 90-minute player for us.
No, but if he's supposed to be in the back room,
in theory, he's supposed to be bringing the mentality up, right? But here's what's scary about going to Fratton Park on Sunday, right? Is that it's the third game in a 3-game in 7-day period, which notoriously we are not good at. It is a game where, you know, a team that has shown they have no mental fortitude and no strength of mind to come up against adversity is heading to our local rivals who, and let's face it, no one wants to go to Fratton Park. Even Pompey fans don't like Fratton Park, right? It is a dive. It is a shed. And if you think it's going to go there and they're not going to be hurled abuse at from 10 yards away, I mean, it worries me, mate. And you're right. Like you alluded to it earlier, right? There's no accountability from the players. So you were talking about whether Manning was one of the ones that came over and faced the northern end, and no, he was not. It was Harwood Bellis. It was the usual faces, right? It was Harwood Bellis, who, to his credit, had one of his better games.
Mm-hmm.
Leo Archer, who'd only been on the pitch for 3.5 minutes, and Gillette. Like, nobody else came even remotely close to dealing with that, and you know, I think that that's what they need to do. Is I think that a lot of the frustration and anguish of the fans, a lot of it is eased if you face up to it and deal with it properly and go and stand in front of that end of fans and get booed for 5 minutes and hold your hands up and take that. And, you know, we've heard from Tonda after the match that, you know, he was like, 45 minutes late to his press conference or something stupid, because there are a lot of home truths in the dressing room. And I hope that that's true. And I hope that it's demonstrable come Wednesday that something is. But, I mean,
if it is true, mate.
Too little, too late, innit?
How many managers have sat and given them home truths? It means nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. They've had the hairdryer from Ivan Juric. They've had the conversation. They've had, you know, we don't know what Will Still was like behind the scenes, but they've had all of this before. It just doesn't make a difference. And if they truly give a rat's ass, they would do something about it. Like, it's baffling. Like, we struggled massively to get past Doncaster, a team that are languishing in the relegation zone of League One. And then since like, you know, this great sort of revival at the beginning of Tonda's reign, but it's like I don't care. There's no point getting to know the name of any manager anymore, because we're going to end up having our like 17th segment of Manager Watch where we end up looking for a new manager. That doesn't matter. But for me, you're right. Like, you talk about leaders and no one really having a dissenting opinion and you know, dumb decisions. Like the whole Romeo thing. Yeah, it'd be great if he was behind the scenes, maybe building them up for the South Coast Derby. How can he do that, mate, if he's with the under-21s? Just out of interest.
Yeah.
So what's the point? What was the point of that?
I agree.
We're in January. We put a new keeper because maybe we can calm all the fans down who don't like Bazunu, because statistically, Baz isn't the best. But then Tonda defends him week in, week out, because apparently that's what we do. We have this culture of defending absolute mediocrity. And then now you've got a game where Baz keeps a clean sheet for the first time. Maybe in a system with defenders, you know, maybe it's because he wasn't tested, but we wouldn't have had all the scrutiny on him if he wasn't tested so bloody often. And that wouldn't be the case if we kept the ball away from our goal, but we can't seem to be able to do that. I'd love to be like angry, but I'm getting to the point where I'm just like, this is just like the same cycle. Week in, week out, year in, year out, month in, month out. We hate Sports Republic, then we will get a win. Like, if we win the South Coast Derby, this goes away for a little bit, right? And we all know that. And then people being like, why are we all like this? I'm like, because a lot of people are not invested into the team as much as the people that are diehard. When you're sat thinking about Saints, talking about Saints 8 hours a day on Twitter, and like, you know, exchanging opinions on Reddit. That isn't the same as the average Southampton fan. Most of them go, they get annoyed, they go home. They don't talk about it, they don't think about it until the next week. Oh, we got to start protesting this and the other. I'm sorry, but like John from accounting isn't turning up to a protest on a Saturday. He's just not. So then where does the buck stop? Well, it will stop when either, you're right, we go down because financially it becomes unviable and they decide to sell us. All of a sudden, everyone collectively stops going and giving them money and enjoying the matchday experience that they've kind of had to put around the football, which is terrible. The football has to be sorted out or gets better, and then everything goes on the up. It's just apathy, mate. Like, I'm just so apathetic to it. Like, you were talking to me over the weekend, and we've been texting each other back and forth. And to be honest, at the moment, I'm more interested in what's going on in the NFL playoffs. It's the first year for years where it's not just been the same two teams. And that's awful because, like, you know, we're doing a daily podcast about Saints, and that's how I feel about it right now. It's just that, how am I meant to care? Because, like, no one else cares. The board don't care. The players don't care. The manager says he cares, but the manager does because the manager really wants to keep that job, but, like, doesn't really have much of a...
But they had a good week of training behind them, mate. And
who cares?
And statistically speaking...
Oh, great. Our XG's high. Woo. What XG did we have today? Oh, do you know what our XG was, mate? 2.68. That's great. Do you know what Hulse was? 0.62. It's just a pointless stat. It just all feels so bloody pointless. And I hate that. I hate how we just, you know, I feel like we analyse more than any of them do at this point. 9 shots off target. They're 1 shot off target. They basically, you could also just sum up the whole game, mate, as they took their chances and we were really wet in defence again. That could just be copy and paste it across all of the last 350 odd episodes we've got in the back hat, mate. And that's Southampton. Doesn't matter what manager, doesn't matter. But one of the things that I will point out is that a lot of those players have remained the same. We've had so much of that core spine since we were here, and it's just, this is the problem. We think about all these things on a day in, day out, but you're right. Ultimately, like what my wife says is probably the most accurate summary, which is you need to score goals to win the game. And keep goals out of your goal, right? Isn't that just like the point of the game? Yeah, just figure out a way to do it. Oh, we're trying our best. No, you're not, because you're so tied to these rigid, ridiculous systems where you've decided that this is the best way to do it. You talk about, Greg, why you're like, oh, you know, how have the other teams managed to figure this shit out? Well, you see what happens is they bring in like a bunch of defensive players and switch things around and target players for the league. They don't just pick a profile or somebody that might be profitable and they might be able to sell later on and blah, blah, blah. It's just want to slam your head against the wall because I feel like there's 100,000 people playing like Football Manager and a lot of them seem to be doing better than the actual team. And you don't understand why. And it's when you realise that just because someone's rich, they're not intelligent. Like that's how it feels, right? Like all these people that are supposedly like smart and have all these qualifications, just like in any job, it is a bunch of people who are absolutely winging it and hoping they don't get found out. And the problem is constantly they seem to be really good at selling themselves as we're going to make this incredible like Man City style like academy and we're going to create this multi-club model and it's going to be awesome. And like it just never pays out like that. It's almost
Look, mate, I'm right there with you.
I'm just
sad. Right there with you, mate, feeling it. Like the prospect of dragging myself out on a cold Wednesday night to watch us play the Blades on Wednesday.
We should be looking forward to the South Coast Derby. It should be a thing we're discussing, a thing we're building. Yeah, okay, it's no longer not the first one in a long time, right? But it is something that we should like be looking forward to. And it's just upsetting. And like, you know, I'm just getting to a point now where it's really, really hard to spend all of my free time watching this team play football because of it just doesn't seem to be ever get any better. And I love Southampton Football Club. Ultimately it's frustrating because of how much we love the club. Not to like, you know.
Here, mate.
I'm just so tired, Greg.
I'm right there with you. It's horrible. It's tragic. And because we love the club, let's go do the full cycle all over again. Twice more this week.
We have to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, mate. Look, that's all we got time for today. But we'll be back tomorrow to do it all again.
Maybe. It really depends if I've just, some of my non-football friends, Greg, tried to be like, can't you just switch team? I just looked at them like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
At this point, I'd love to, but no, unfortunately, I'm tied into this club that hates me and hates all of its fans for the rest of my life.
Go be an Eastleigh fan, mate. They had a great result in their local derby this weekend.
I'm aware. I can barely walk around the town centre without bumping into a police officer. That's the first time since I've lived in Eastleigh in the last decade. I've seen more than a police officer at a time. Look, it'll be what it'll be. It's just really, really hard to be a Saints fan right now. They make it so painful, right? Yeah. I'd like to say it's the hope that kills us, Greg, but I just don't know if I have any hope left now. I just think it kills me.
The good news is, mate, it's all just character building, really. That's the line we're going with. But look, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, mate, for reliving that harrowing display yesterday with me. Like I say, we will be back tomorrow to talk about more. But let us know in the comments on the socials how you are feeling at the moment. What is the answer? What can we do? Answers on a postcard to Sports Republic at St Mary's Stadium. I think they will take all the help they can get. Alternatively, let us know in the comments. We are Daily Saints Pod on X, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. Hit us up. We love hearing from you. Until tomorrow, though, everyone, have as wonderful of a day as you can, and we'll see you then.
This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.